After the unmitigated bin fire of the first debate,
Law and order. Go ahead. Will you shut up, man?
the real debate today was whether any viewers could stomach coming back for round two.
Come on.
Welcome to the final 2020 presidential debate between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden.
That's obvious.
But today's face-off was an entirely different affair, with both candidates actually getting a chance to talk policy.
I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy.
Let's start.
They covered the big topics with varying degrees of success, talking coronavirus,
If we just wore these masks, we could save 100,000 lives.
the environment,
Look at China, how filthy it is.
foreign policy,
I'd make China do is play by the international rules.
and precisely how racist the sitting president of the United States actually is.
I am the least racist person in this room.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history.
But it wasn't a complete model of civility. Even Trump's politeness was aggressive.
The issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
Laptop from hell. Excuse me.
Let's move on and talk. Let me ask some folks.
Excuse me. Let me just say this.
And he couldn't resist playing all the old hits.
A phony witch hunt. Absolutely no collusion. A spy to my campaign. You have to be kidding.
After 90 excruciating minutes, the night finally came to a close, with Joe Biden presenting his vision of a Biden
I'm
presidency,
going to give you hope. We're going to move. We're going to choose science over fiction.
and Trump also presenting his vision of a Biden presidency.
If he gets in, you will have a depression the likes of which you've never seen.
Malarkey.
Well, one person who was glued to every moment was our man in DC, Michael Williams. Hey, Michael, what was your takeaway? Who do you think came off best?
Well, I think the first winner of the night was the moderator, Kristen Welker. I think she did a magnificent job in posing her questions and making sure, to the best of her ability, that she got answers from the candidates and to keeping them in their respective corners. I think Joe Biden, to me, was absolutely the clear winner in this. He seemed like a person who was debating issues about how to govern, while Donald Trump was mostly trying to taint Joe Biden. So to me, Joe Biden clearly won the day when you're talking about who would you trust with your affairs? I think the answer to that question after this particular conversation was clearly Vice President Joe Biden.
As you mentioned, the moderator did a wonderful job, but didn't make as much use of that mute button as I was expecting. Is that a sign that they were both behaving themselves?
Well, I think that Joe Biden is notoriously well behaved in these debates. If you saw any of the Democratic debates where he was debating his colleagues, when they would have their red light, yellow light, green light system, and when he got to a red light, he would almost power down like a robot. When he got to the red light, he would just stop in the middle of a sentence. So you expect Joe to be very, very well behaved when it comes to these situations. I think Donald Trump knew how bad. He started to believe the reports on how badly it came off with his behavior in that last debate. One person who was polled, a staunch Republican who had never voted for a Democrat, said that he was behaving like a crackhead in that last debate. So I think that he understood that he needed to rein this in, and even the threat of being muted, especially by a woman moderator, I think was enough to keep him coloring inside the lines on this one. So much less it was the use of the mute as it was the threat of the mute button that kept the candidates in place on this one.
This is one of the last chances for both candidates to get through to undecided voters. I guess I'm just wondering, after all this time, are there any undecided voters still?
And there are. We've had, I think, coming up on 50 million people who've already voted before Election Day in a dozen days. And I think that the great majority of those undecideds, if they are there, are people who are going to go into the voting booth and say, can I really pull the lever again for Donald Trump, despite the fact that there are children in cages, despite the fact that there was a scandal that he got impeached earlier this year over a scandal with Ukraine, despite the fact that he plays golf every other day, and on and on and on and on. It's those people who are trying to justify pulling that lever for him a second time. I think that the Biden voters have decided either going to vote for him, or Republicans who are not going to vote for Biden have decided to stay home. I think that the great majority of the undecideds are, can I do that again? And that's what's going to determine success or failure for Donald Trump in this election.
Give it to us straight, Michael. With only a week and a half to go, so many people already have voted.
Trump so far behind in the polls. Is there any narrow pathway back to victory, do you think, for him?
Well, yeah, there is. So if you look at the states that really won the election for Donald Trump last year, you're talking about Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, the so-called blue wall that was set up for Democrats. These are states that hadn't voted Republican for decades. And Donald Trump won these states by very, very slim margins. If he can keep all of those states, he's got a pathway to victory. If he loses any one of those states, he probably doesn't. It's a very, very, very narrow path for him. But honestly, with the polling that's there, he's polling underwater for weeks now. It seems to be going down rather than up. Biden is on the increase rather than the decrease. He's polling over 50% in those states where Hillary never did. All signs point to a very, very slim window, and not even a window. It's looking more like a mail slot this time for Donald Trump.
So it sounds like it's going to be a nail biter to the end. Michael, thanks as always.
My pleasure. Thank you.